Good morning, everybody in the Pitch Strike Chronicles. This is where fans become family. Happy morning. Happy Hall of Fame day on this Wednesday. And congratulations to CC Sabathia on behalf of me, Uncle Tats, Rubino, Donald, Lynn, Sierra, Spencer, everybody associated with this great channel of ours. Good morning to everybody in the chat. Like I said, CC Sabathia, the former Yankee, the 2009 World Series champion, gets elected into the Hall of Fame along with Ichiro and Billy Wagner. Congratulations to those gentlemen as well. I am stoked for this morning. After the day after the Hall of Fame, I love the Hall of Fame. I love going. I love talking about it. And as we all know, when you're a baseball fan, the history follows with it. So to be able to talk about the history of these players, specifically our beloved Yankee, CC Sabathia, along with former Yankee Ichiro Suzuki, that does need to be noted. He was a member of our team, and he was very poised as a Yankee as throughout his whole career. So congratulations to all of the inductees of this year. Donald, I'll throw it to you. How are you feeling this morning that our boy CC got elected into the Hall of Fame as a first ballot Hall of Famer?
The CC man. He was the pride of the Yankees for his duration of his tenure. He was fantastic, especially leading the championship rotation in 2009. Salute to CC, man. He had a big heart, and he was a leader. He would put the team on his back, and he was the stopper. He was the ace, and I think he was just as good in the locker room as he was on the field. He was a great leader. It was a great signing. I have to give Cashman a lot of credit for getting him because that was a great signing. Other aspects, I love the fact that when he lost the velocity in his fastball and he had some personal problems, he came back and mastered the cutter from Andy Pettitte and Mariano Rivera. Both helped him with learning how to throw a cut fastball, and then he changed the trajectory of his career again by mastering the cut fastball and being a really good starter. And he was great in 2017 for us. So I gotta give a lot of credit to that man. That man, it says a lot about him. What about the fact that he was due a bonus, but he didn't care. He preferred to get himself thrown out and to stand on business for the Yankees and for his teammates. And it's a badass dude right there. He's a badass dude, and I'll always remember him. Always remember him. Salute to him. Congratulations for his Hall of Fame induction.
Rob, your thoughts on the events of yesterday?
Much deserved, man. I love CC. My favorite Yankee pitcher. It was the best. It's what you want every free agent signing to turn out to be. Just a winner. He came in here with the goal to win, and he did. And it's a shame we couldn't get him more rings because he pitched like an absolute monster for the first 4 years of that contract, and then some injuries piled up. But even after that, and like Donald said, the personal stuff, he came back and just pitched. He wasn't relying on the 97, 98. He still had that fastball. He threw with the cutter. And even when it seemed like things were kind of tailing downward for him in terms of his stuff, he still became a very reliable starter in the later years of that contract and of his career. So he was a big mentor for a lot of the younger guys we had coming up, guys like Monty and Sevy. He was a perfect teammate, perfect Yankee. And I love that he embraced it because remember all the rumors that he didn't want to come to the East Coast. He was a West Coast guy, and we convinced him to come here, threw a lot of money at him, and he earned every single penny. It's rare that a free agent gets that kind of a deal and they earn every penny of it. He did. And it's much deserved. 250 plus wins, 3,000 strikeouts, and a lot of those accomplishments came in a Yankee uniform, and he's going to be wearing that Yankee cap in Cooperstown, and I'm damn happy about it. 52, I got the shirt on underneath this jersey. I'm going to be repping my guy all day today. Love
Oh,
CC, and
nice.
I'm very happy for him. Very happy for Ichiro. Real quick, that one idiot that didn't vote for him. I hope you have a very bad day. And another congratulatory shout to Billy Wagner, much deserved. I wish some other guys could have had a chance to get in, but three very deserved players just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. And CC Sabathia and Ichiro being to that award in Yankee uniform, so I'm very happy for them. And Billy Wagner, of course, because much deserved as well.
Yeah, Billy Wagner was one of those you knew he was gonna get. You knew he was gonna get it eventually, and as the years went on, you go and you know they better get this guy in. They better get him in. But Ichiro was also with that one vote. There are very few players that you can say are no doubt unanimous. Like, how do you vote against them? Ichiro was that. I always thought the first deserving unanimous would have been Ken Griffey Jr. I've said that. I stand by it. How he was not unanimous is still beyond me. But Ichiro, how do you vote against him? Really, he was the blueprint for any of the international signings of our generation. I know there were a lot of players before him, but he set the blueprint of coming over from a foreign market and really putting his handprint and his and really solidifying himself in the Major League Baseball atmosphere. And he did it with such grace with Seattle for all those years. I thought Seattle actually did a really good job with the tribute for him. But how do you not? How is Ichiro not a unanimous? And is it really you wanted to wait one more year? Like I don't get it. Like, what are they trying to prove? That they're smarter? What? Because he put a lot of his numbers up when he was still playing overseas. It's mind-boggling. But there was something else that was said yesterday in conversation. If Ichiro had come over like these players are coming over now at the ages they do, he's breaking every batting record, every one of them. Maybe not the 400 batting average, of Ted Williams, but he's breaking Pete Rose's hit record with his eyes closed.
Yeah, what he started 29 years old, I think,
Yeah,
when he came over.
yeah,
So
he's
yeah,
late 20s.
he should have been unanimous. Griffey should have been. Jeff Passan put out a list last night of the highest voting percentages, and yet obviously Mo's 100, Jeter and Ichiro both 99.7, absolute shams. Ken Griffey 99.3, bullshit. Tom Seaver 98.8, bullshit. Nolan Ryan 98.8, bullshit. Cal Ripken Jr. 98.5. How these guys are all not unanimous is an absolute. It's a real testament to how bad the voting system is. That there are people out there that are not voting for these players to be in the Hall of Fame. We can have a conversation about the steroid guys, but this list right here, the fact that all 7 of these players were not unanimous and only one of them was, and I'm glad it's Mo, but you're telling me Jeter, one person's like, no. Ichiro, one person said, no. Ichiro. Like, this guy came over and dominated the league, and everyone was like, oh, he did it in another league that they're not on the same level as the major leagues. And well, he said, yeah, it is. And I'm better than you. That's what Ichiro did. Nolan Ryan's not a unanimous Hall of Famer. What are we doing here? This is why I said the other day the Hall of Fame has become an absolute joke, and I'm happy these players are in, but the voting system, I'll say the voting system is an absolute joke because these players should all be unanimous, and it's an absolute scam that they're not. But the fact that one person, some jackass, is like, no, I don't think Ichiro deserved it. Take away his Japanese numbers. Just put him his straight Major League Baseball numbers. That is Hall of Fame worthy.
Donald?
3,089 hits, and he didn't even play his entire career in the major leagues. It's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous numbers. Um, and there, I think that's the problem in a nutshell of what this system is. That you have writers who play God, and that's the problem. The sports writers play God, and they get to have fun with it. They're just sort of like, oh wow, I can get all the attention, even if it's negative publicity. I don't care, because if there's like 334 people, right, and 333 vote for Ichiro, but one doesn't, he gets to be the one, and he's like, excellent. So he's probably jerking off to the online hate as we speak. He's like, woohoo, let's go. And that's the fucking problem right there. That's the fucking problem right there in a nutshell. It's absolutely disgusting that you got these assholes that feel that they're bigger than the sport, but they get to play God with people's careers and livelihoods um and I mean the person who had to be the asshole to not give Derek Jeter the unanimous, I will never, ever, ever forgive him for, because that's even more egregious than this. But this is probably the second or third most egregious thing, along with with Ryan. There's a lot, but I feel that there's always going to be one writer that loves to just be like the asshole in the room that just wants to. I mean, there's no. Here's the thing: there's no argument to say that Ichiro doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. What 3,089 hits? That's that's like that walks into the Hall of Fame. Like there's not even a debate. There's not even a question. Then you look at his career batting average. Not even a debate. Not even a question. So there's no debate. There's no question. His defense, his batting average, uh, and the number of hits. All of those three individually would be enough to get him in the Hall of Fame. That's how good he was. And so there always has to be one, and fuck him, um, and fuck the guy that didn't give Derek Jeter the unanimous Hall of Fame, because that's even more disgusting. And but these guys are proud of it. These guys are proud of it, and you know what we need, because what we used to have was good sports radio. We used to have Mike and the Mad Dog, and Mike and the Mad Dog would call up the idiots who would try and tarnish the sport with their awful takes, such as the one that didn't give Jeter the unanimous or whatever. There was they would call him up and roast him, set him on fire. When Derek Jeter missed out on the MVP in a total sham, I remember listening in on the show, and Mike and the Mad Dog called the one guy that voted that changed the vote. It didn't give Derek Jeter, I think, even top five, and I think that cost him the MVP. So he called him up. They called him up and roasted him live on air, and that's what you need, because there's just these guys that are tarnishing the sport. They hate Yankees. They hate anyone who's ever worn a Yankee hat, or they just love to just be the asshole in the room. There's not much more I can say about that, but it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. They need to change this situation, because now, instead of it being unanimous, it's one short. A weird thing for someone's legacy. There needs to be someone that should be overseeing this, going, wow, no, what is this vote? You're losing a vote. You know what I'm saying? There needs to be someone that oversees this, going, nah, bro, you've got an agenda here. So, it's important. Yeah, FJ is right. Voted Jeter number 6. Anti-Yankee bias is real. There you go, FJ. Spot on, man. That's what I was referring to. So it's a disgrace. The system's a sham, and these sports writers, for these awful takes, there needs to be a penalty of getting it stripped from them because it's a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to. It's a privilege for us in this short and this kind of panel to talk to you guys. It's a privilege to do this 3 times a week. It's not a right. It's not a birthright. You know. So these writers should feel privileged that they have the opportunity to vote on a Hall of Fame. Take it seriously. I would take it extremely seriously. So I would expect nothing short of that. Disgusting.
I had sent my Hall of Fame inductees to Rich Rivera at ESB. They were doing their Hall of Fame special last night. So go check out their channel to see their Hall of Fame special on who, because a couple of the YouTube podcasts, a couple of us hosts were reached out to how would we vote? And Ichiro, Sabathia, like those were on the top of the list. Wagner got a couple of votes. He deservedly got in. And there are people that are still going to be waiting till next year. But that's next year. I don't want to talk too much about who didn't get in because this is the day for the guys that did. But, it's everybody has their own opinion, but you have to step back and you can't be because they didn't give you an interview, you don't want to vote for them? Or because they were rude to you? Because, they took a contract that wasn't on your team? Is anybody really seriously think about this, right? 20 years from now, would we not vote in Soto because he chose the Mets over the Yankees? No. You got to put you got to put that aside and vote for what the player did for the game.
Right.
I would still vote for. I would vote for Soto if he was on the ballot tomorrow.
Of course. Because
you have to be able to put your personal feelings aside and vote for the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of who I like, or the Hall of the very good, the Hall of, he had a couple of good years. There are a lot of players that could be, that should be in that are not. There are players that were voted off the ballot after 1 year that deserve better, i.e. David Cohn. Didn't get the percentage to stay on for a second year, which is criminal. Those are the people that don't watch the game. They're eligible for a vote that they don't pay attention to what the game is about. They don't understand some younger writers that don't understand the history of the game.
That didn't see David Cohn pitch in the 80s or in 95 for the Yankees when he was literally pitching complete games with a bad arm. His arm had an aneurysm in his arm or some shit, and he was still going. He was still pitching complete games. So this guy was an absolute machine, man. Absolute David Cohn. I'm a big David Cohn stan, man. I love him. Pitching perfect games. How is someone who pitched a perfect game not in the Hall of Fame anyway? Pitched a perfect freaking game. Multiple championships. More championships than you can freaking believe. Not Hall of Fame. My ass.
Yeah.
There's
Change
so
the
much
system.
wrong with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to know your take on the voting process.
Look at Joel Sherman. He voted for 4 people. You can vote for 10. Right. He voted for 4. I like Joel Sherman. I think he's a respectable writer in his craft, but 4 people. He didn't even vote for Wagner, and Wagner got in. He voted for I think he voted for Beltran, which okay, I can understand it, but why is Felix Hernandez not getting more consideration? The dude was filthy, and how are some of these players not getting? I can understand Hanley Ramirez probably not getting in, and guys like Vizquel, but David Wright doesn't get a lot of consideration. And I think David Wright's a guy that without injuries would have been an absolute Hall of Famer. So, but there's obviously the steroid guys, and that's the biggest clue that there's an agenda because these guys saved the sport. So I know what they did was cheating, but the sport allowed it. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until they got caught and it was a bad look that they finally started doing something about it. So the Maguires, the Sosas, the A-Rods of the world, like if Ortiz is in, you got to let the rest of these guys in.
See, I thought Ortiz was going to break the dam.
Yeah, and it hasn't happened. A-Rod should be in. Maguire, Sosa, these Bonds. I mean, how the hell is Barry Bonds not a Hall of Famer? Pete Rose should have been. The fact that they kept him banned for as long as they did, or still have him banned, like it's bullshit. And that's why I really don't respect the Hall of Fame voters. I respect the players that are in because I've been to Cooperstown once and I loved it and I would love to go back. But you can't help but think about there's a lot of players that should be here that are not. And when you go into that one room and you see all the plaques and you see like the 3 original ones, you're like, this is baseball history. You can't help but be like, that wall should have Bonds' plaque on it. That one should have A-Rod's. That one should have Manny Ramirez.
Incomplete.
Like, yeah, it's incomplete, exactly. And you can't help but think that because we watch baseball all of our lives and we all love the game and we love the history of it. Even if we weren't, like, I was only like 6 when the whole steroid thing was happening in '98, but I remember it. So, these are things that they're just kind of trying to omit from baseball history, and
Yes.
it's not fair. Even without the roids, Barry Bonds was a phenomenal player. His Pittsburgh Pirates career was probably enough to give him consideration alone. He's still the home run leader. A-Rod never needed to do it, and these guys should be in.
I'm saying this now. A-Rod's a better player than Juan Soto. And I love Juan Soto. I think A-Rod's an even better hitter. Better power hitter, incredible defender. Those who weren't around to see A-Rod play defense, he was an unbelievable shortstop, an unbelievable third baseman. Had unbelievable power, and he could do it all. He could bat 320 if he wanted to. He could do it all. There was nothing he couldn't do. Yes, he took steroids, but that was the era. It was actually an anomaly for people who didn't take steroids, right? 2/3 of the league took steroids back then. Now, am I justifying it? No, but that was the culture that was allowed. It was overlooked, and it is what it is. It's and I'm saying these people are playing God over this, man. You have to look at, all right, well, you can't just automatically go, he took steroids, he's absolutely off the ballot. No consideration. You have to look at him as a player. Barry Bonds was an unbelievable baseball player. He was phenomenal even before he turned into He-Man. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was phenomenal. An unbelievable baseball player. One of the best that's ever done it. So, he also is the home run champion, whether you like it or not. That's the facts. He's a Hall of Famer. Roger Clemens, for me, is the best pitcher I've ever seen. With or without steroids, and it's also not proven he took steroids. We don't know. But he was the best pitcher I've ever seen. Unbelievable. The Rocket was phenomenal. Unbelievable pitcher. I don't care if he took roids or not. Don't care. He was incredible. And the fact that Sammy Sosa has to apologize, Sammy Sosa helped save the sport. He saved the Cubbies, and he saved the sport. And now he has to go out there and apologize to people. I'm really, really sorry. Give me a break. That man should be thanked. That man's a hero. Same with Mark McGuire.
Yep. Well, that leads to the
Summer '98. I actually read a great book, The Summer of '98. Mike Lupica wrote it. And it was all about how Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa's home run chase, plus the Yankees being the greatest team in the history of the game in 1998, saved baseball. Baseball was ruined after the lockout, after the year off. It was ruined. It was broken. And
they saved the game.
Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and the New York Yankees saved it. And what's the gratitude for that? Mark McGuire ignored. Sammy Sosa having to apologize. And any Yankee that goes up in the Hall of Fame gets rejected.
Pettit. Andy Pettit.
Yeah.
Posada didn't get in.
Like
Posada his numbers were on par with, I think, Mauer. If you compare the two, and they put Mauer in, right? So the whole thing, it really is. They just kind of scrub these historic players off the face of the earth. And John, I would let Pete Rose in. You want to know why I let Pete Rose in? They had plenty of time to say what you did in the past is the past, because what do you see now when you watch any sport? Brought to you by DraftKings, brought to you by Hard Rock Bet, brought to you by FanDuel, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. If you have a gambling problem, dial 1-800. So, fuck you. Let the guy in the Hall of Fame. You're gonna try to get everyone that watches your sport to go gamble away their money, but one of the most historic, if not the most historic player in your sport was blacklisted. Get out of here. You listen to Pete Rose talk about how he would hit. That's a baseball player, and that's the player that you just said, screw him. However, go bet on the sport that you want to watch. Fuck Major League Baseball and fuck the people that try to vote for these and don't want to let these guys in. That's one of the best players to ever play your sport. And you just said screw him, but the thing that you're blacklisting him for, it's all over your screens. So there's a problem in Major League Baseball. And 1998 was absolutely the year that saved the sport, because it was dying. The way people say baseball is dying now, it was way worse back then. It's bullshit. I know we're supposed to be celebrating CC today, but you can't help but every time you talk about the Hall of Fame, you bring up these things because it's a scam. The Hall of Fame system is a scam. A lot more players that are not in should be in.
I still believe that now that Pete has passed on, and rest in peace to Pete Rose, right? I think now the Veterans Committee will vote him in posthumously. I don't think after all the arrogance from him and the battling and showing up on the the ceremony days off site, signing all the merch, rubbing it in the face of the Hall of Fame itself, and kind of rubbing salt on the wounds. I think that kind of held him back a little bit as well. And all to Pete's credit, like he played his after baseball career with his numbers. He played the cards perfectly and made a really nice career for himself after baseball with all the merch and autographs, the meet and greets. He didn't let baseball forget him, where baseball wanted to forget him. So I give Pete a lot of credit for that. I think he does get in now that he's passed on. I think the Veterans Committee will get him in.
It's a shame that it has to come to that.
I know.
They had years.
I didn't say it's wrong to do it that way, but look, I've been to the Hall of Fame, a few times. Like Rob, you said, and speaking of that, the Pinstripe Chronicles, because myself, I will be at the ceremony July 27th.
Oh,
so
shit.
the Pinstripe Chronicles will be at the ceremony to inaugurate Wagner, Sabathia, and Ichiro. So make sure that you are tuned in, and I will be doing some video clips, some at site reviews and opinions that will be for some of our members. So make sure you get those memberships up by the Hall of Fame time. So I'll be doing some of that, and maybe a giveaway to have one of you subscribers or members join me as a guest, and I will help you get to the Hall of Fame if you want to do so as well. We will work on some of the details on
That's
that.
getting inducted. The best co-host.
That's not what.
Bring some sunscreen, Tats. It's gonna be hot. We know that bald head's gonna be red.
That's what hats are for.
Bring a hat and bring some sunscreen. And if you're going with Uncle Tats, bring him some extra sunscreen just in case.
Yes, definitely. But we'll work on see how that would work out as well. But definitely the Pinstripe Chronicles will be represented at this year's ceremony. So
low-key win right there, brother. Good job. Nice.
Yep. So that was kind of a little surprise because Rob and Donald didn't even know that.
I did not know that.
They're as shocked as you are.
But, that is a dub. That is a dub, bro.
Yep. So I mean, I do. Because I have a Hall of Fame membership. I can go whenever I want. I don't pay admission. I can wander around 7 days a week. And actually, little plug. If you are a Hall of Fame member, the perks are phenomenal. You do get free admission 365 days a year, no restrictions. You get a very nice monthly magazine about the history of baseball. Commemorative pins. A membership card. Um, uh, any type of Hall of Fame merchandise at the store. There's discounts. So if you are really a big fan of the Hall of Fame, I highly suggest signing up for a membership. Back to the Hall of Fame itself and the players that have been inducted. Let's get the conversation back to CC. Because one thing, and it was echoed earlier, the one thing about CC is he was the forefront of a player not being selfish, not having it about him, not having it about how much money he made. It was how can I help my team win? How can I make them better? We talked about with the Montes and the Sevies, working with them behind the scenes as they were developing. But this is also a player that we all joke around and we're like, you see the memes, that's for you, bitch. This is a player that had his teammates back no matter what was on the line. And he lost a lot of money for that ejection.
So the Yankees give it to him though, like they gave it to him afterwards. Yeah, but that right there, it was an example.
In the moment, yeah.
Right, and his quote when they asked him why he's wearing a Yankee hat, like on his plaque, like the dude embraced New York. Like, he wanted, like, this guy wants to be a Yankee. Did you guys see what he said? If you didn't, he said, "This is home, the Bronx. I found a home in the Bronx, and I don't think I'll ever leave this city." Do you not want that? Like that's what you want a Yankee to be. Like, he embraced New York. I remember that clip of him I posted when he struck out Ortiz, and I thought he was yelling at Ortiz. He was yelling at the umpire, which makes it even more hilarious that he was yelling at the ump, and he was like, "Fuck out of here." It's like, that dude became a New Yorker. That's a West Coaster, and he became a New Yorker with that one line. Like, yep. He probably goes right. He's probably this morning getting a bacon, egg, and cheese. Like, come on. You tell him CC embraced New York, and that's what you want. That's what you want a Yankee to be. You want a guy to come here and embrace the city, and that's everyone's like, this guy's a true Yankee. We want him to be a New Yorker. Well, CC Sabathia is telling you he is, and that's why he's my favorite Yankee pitcher ever. And I was so happy when we got him, and I'm so happy that he's going to be going into the Hall as a Yankee because most of his accomplishments came as a Yankee, and I think he may be one of the best free agent signings if not the best we've ever had. Like, the dude has been absolutely he was absolutely outstanding. And we don't win that 09 championship without CC's contributions, especially as the ace. 3-man rotation, and he was lights out for pretty much the entire season and the playoffs. So I love the dude. I'm so happy for him, and I'm happy that he's going to be wearing that NY on his plaque.
Amen. And you know what? Another aspect to this conversation, got to give Brian Cashman credit, man. Without Brian Cashman, CC Sabathia wouldn't be here. Why? Because CC Sabathia admitted he had no interest in the Yankees in free agency that year.
He wanted to
stay the 09 offseason, he wasn't interested in being a Yankee. He wanted to be in the West Coast. He was set on being a West Coast. He couldn't imagine it. Brian Cashman walked in and made sure that he didn't walk out without a contract. He gave him an insane amount of money for one, but two, sold New York to him. And he was like, all right, let's do it. And then the rest is history. Now he's going to wear NY in his hat. Now he's like Mr. New York. So it really says something, man. So you got to give Brian Cashman a lot of credit. Previous streams have been critical of some of the ways that he has allocated funds, but there are times where he just hits it out of the ballpark, and this is one of the occasions where he hits it out of the ballpark, man. He did an unbelievable job to convince CC Sabathia, and we all benefited from it. And I know the Yankee front office we'll be raising a toast to CC Sabathia and to their work to ensure that he became a Yankee. So let's give credit to Brian Cashman and his front office for bringing him here.
And let's remember that, keep in mind the Yankees are going to have the giveaways throughout the season. It would not surprise me if they officially retire his number now that he is a Hall of Famer, and going in with that Yankee cap. Expect that ceremony this year. So there's, if we talk about, getting people to come to the ballpark. Sabathia just kind of saved the Yankees a little bit on their attendance by having having a potential retirement ceremony, a replica Hall of Fame plaque night. I mean, there's a million ideas the Yankees could throw out there to draw people in.
Do you know another aspect to him? What about what he did in Milwaukee? That was insane, guys. Do you guys remember what he did in Milwaukee?
He's outstanding.
Ridiculous. How about when he went over to Milwaukee, he had an 11-2 record. And in 17 games, he had 7 complete games. 7 complete games out of 17. That's like ridiculous numbers, bro. That's like ridiculous numbers. 7 complete games. 3 complete game shutouts. 1.65 ERA. I mean, are you pulling my leg? I mean, that's not even human. Like that dude, from what I remember, 2008, basically every single start he pitched a complete game. The dude was ridiculous. You couldn't do that now, man. How many years did you have to pitch to get 7 complete games?
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that's that doesn't get acknowledged enough, and big kudos to you for pointing it out during the show, because it's true. We talk about him as a Yankee, but we don't, you don't think about the career he had that led him for the Yankees to want him. So, big credit to CeCe and his not only his Yankee career. What's one of the first things he said? He thanked the Cleveland, the Guardians for drafting him, and giving him the start of his career. His time in Milwaukee.
11 hitting a home run in Milwaukee. Dude can hit as well. Oh my god!
Well, that was the other thing. In Milwaukee, he had to swing a bat. He's ahead of me now, FJ. So it's his career before he was a Yankee was already on the trajectory for where he is today.
Yeah, didn't he lead both the AL and NL in like complete games that year? Yeah, that's hard to do.
Yeah, that's split season. Yeah,
that is hard to do. So yeah, that's why he was the most coveted free agent, and that's why he got at the time the richest contract to a free agent pitcher. And they had to, because they had to sway him to not go to the West Coast. You imagine had he picked the Dodgers back then? So yeah, Cashman deserves a lot of credit. The Yankee front office deserves a lot of credit. Raziel, I don't think George had too much to do with it, because George was not even close to the man he once was in 2009. I think.
No, he passed on to his sons at that point. So
yeah, he was getting drove around in a golf cart that year. So
yeah,
unfortunately,
George, credit to Hal and Hank.
Yeah, they really wanted to go all out that year. So I give the Suns and I give Cashman a lot of credit for that. But still, they had to persuade that guy to not go to the West Coast and go to New York. That's not an easy thing to do for someone that wants to, clearly, because we see a lot of guys choosing the West Coast nowadays, and everyone's choosing the Dodgers. So that's not an easy thing to do. The Yankees did it, and like I said earlier, it might be the best thing they've ever done in free agency, at least in my lifetime, because every penny that they paid that guy was worth it. And it's a damn shame they couldn't get him more than one ring, but that one ring, legendary run that he had in that postseason. So damn happy that CeCe was a Yankee.
What about his postseason record, man? His postseason numbers were ridiculous. His ALDS in 2009, 1.35 ERA. 2009 ALCS MVP, 2-0 with a 1.13 ERA. 12 strikeouts in just 16 innings, which is 2 earned runs in that entire series. So yeah, he was the ALCS MVP. And then even down the line, he had a really good postseason in 2012, 153 ERA in the ALDS. And what about 2017? A 0.96 ERA against the Astros, the cheating Astros, by the way, that had videotape and frickin' garbage bags and garbage pails or whatever, and they still couldn't hit CC Sabathia. I was in 2017. That dude was an absolute menace in the playoffs.
Well, I think with his time with the Yankees, because that's really in the forefront of our minds. And I've said it before. All three of us have echoed it. His reinvention of himself as he got older and still be one of the most reliable pitchers in the rotation. Whether he was the ace or the 2 or 3 guy. In retro, in the way we looked at him, it's I think that's what really puts him above some of the other guys. That's why we talk more about Sabathia in that postseason than Burnett. It was the reinvention of himself and the pride he took and putting in the work. I remember there was a lot of criticism for him when he stepped away from the season to go into rehab, and he got drugged through he got run through the trenches, and he got dragged through the rock. It was terrible, and we didn't understand what was going on until the news came out, and there were fans that were still getting on him. Like, how you abandon your team? Like, look, he did what he had to do, and you have to congratulate him for it, because when he came back, and that time that he was away before he returned is when he learned a lot of the off-speed stuff to be able to compensate for the lack of speed on his fastball. So you talk about a guy that he was like a chameleon. No matter what was what it was, the American League or the National League, like we were saying before, having to also swing the bat, having the hits that he did. He's just one of those guys where how do you not admire a guy that was able to transform himself time and time again through his career?
It's not easy to do. Yeah, you're right. It's not easy to do. To go from pumping 97, 98, and then having to pitch more finesse 92, 93 with movement, not easy.
No.
So another tip of the cap to CC.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what he was able to do throughout his years as a player.
Do you know what's unbelievable? We've gone 45 minutes and we've not said hello to the chat. Let's say hello to the chat. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Yankee Kyle says, Uncle Tats, good morning. So Yankee Kyle says a big salute to Uncle T. We got the 4-Train Express. And he's coming to town, and he's coming to say that Sabathia is the last of a dying breed for pitchers. Salute, man. That's a spot-on point. That's a great point, actually. Regil the Great. Isn't it wild, his postseason run 15 years ago? Yeah, the dude was insane. The 2009 postseason and his year in 2010, not even the postseason, his season in 2010 was actually better than the season he had in 2009. So in 2009, his first season as a Yankee was 19-8 with a 3.37 ERA. How about then the year after, 21-7 with a 3.18 ERA? And the man was a freaking menace, and the dude was just incredible. Salute to him. Let's say hello to Ollie. Congratulations to CC. Let's go Yankees. Let's go Ollie. Salute, man. FJ, as I points out that CC had 11 hits, including a home run in Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee should have a plaque to CC Sabathia because that dude was brilliant for that 1.5 year that he spent there. He was ridiculous. Good, Jared Williams in the chat. Good to see Jared again. What did the Yankees players say to Cleveland? You can't judge a book by its cover. I know that joke sucked.
It did.
Yeah, I'm not getting it. I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Right, let's go, let's go, let's go. Reggie the Great says, what happened to that cash? Oh wait, George was alive back then. He was alive, but I think a lot of it was his sons that wanted to get him one last championship before it was the end for old George. So salute to his sons for that. Fortrain follows up saying CC was a generational pitcher. He's one of those guys that had the attitude like a Pedro, meaning how can I protect my team, and had the stamina of Maddox Schmaltz. Yeah, it's an underrated aspect, man. The fact that he had complete games. Do you know how many complete games he had in his career? I'm going to ask Rob. Rob, guess how many complete games he had in his career without looking at the stats.
Well, considering he had like 12 in one season, it's got to be way up there. Say it like 25? Up? Wow, okay. So yeah, am I way off, or am I hot or am I cold?
Kind of tipsy, mediocre.
Was it like in the 30s?
Yep. Up,
Jesus.
up.
36? 37?
Up.
38?
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
38 complete games in 19 years, and that's not including the postseason. That is my CC. That is a CC man. Generational is spot on. That was my nickname for him. He was the CC man because he was just the man. MH in the chat. Good to see MH in there. Ken saying shoeless Joe Jackson, the fifth highest career batting average not in the Hall. That's a great point, Ken. Ken from the top rope coming in a smackdown on MLB on that. And I agree with John the Beagle Dad. I say Pete paid for his mistake. It's time to induct him and move on. Well said. Well said. Mantle and Mays were banned a decade before Rose just for advertising for Bali's Casino. Rosebud against. Wow, I didn't even know that Mantle was banned or Mays.
Is it a ban or just a fine?
I didn't know about
ban. I never heard the ban before. I know they got in trouble for promoting the casino. But I don't know about a ban.
Yeah, I mean Lou agrees that they did Pete dirty. Chris the Flash in the chat. Good to see Chris the Flash. Joseph Salvador in the chat. Salute to you, Joseph Salvador. Good to see you. We got Acevedo. Yo. We got Stevie B. We got Chris the Flash pointing out that he actually has a story about CC Sabathia. I would love to know what his story is. Chris Masso, good morning, guys. My favorite baseball player of all time made it, y'all. Well, I'm happy for you, man. Congratulations. I know it's a good feeling when your favorite ever player makes the Hall of Fame. That's how I felt when Derek Jeter made it, and that's how I'll feel when Eli Manning makes it. So absolutely, it's a good feeling, man. Good feeling.
And shout out to everybody in the chat. I saw the other comment from Chris the Flash. Make sure you tune into his channel. He's going to have his Hall of Fame review on his stream later on. And also Mazza from the Fortrain Express is having a roundtable tonight with a couple of channels, and the Pitchfork Chronicles will be represented by Ciara. So make sure you tune in and give Ciara some support for the Pinstripe Chronicles on the Fortrain Express roundtable.
What would you say to Michael De Jesus' comment? This is interesting because we've been just giving him platitudes. Now we got a little bit of a different opinion. Let's discuss. We do love discussion here. Let's go with Rob first of all. What do you think of this comment? He never had a period of 5 or 6 years of dominance. It's a top 5 pitcher. What would you say to that?
I mean, I can see that argument because he was never like one of the top ERA guys. If you look at some of his career numbers, he was mid to high threes. So I can see that argument. I just think you look at his career accomplishments, 250 plus wins, 3,000 strikeouts. It's hard to say that guy, a World Series ring, great postseason numbers, 36, 37 shutouts or complete games. Not 37 shutouts, 37 complete games. It's hard to say that guy's not a Hall of Famer. Was he one of the best pitchers for a long period of time, like a top 5 guy? Maybe not to some people. I think from a period of like 09, 08 to maybe like 2011, you could certainly put him in that argument that in that
Amen.
he was a top 5 pitcher. But I can
That's
see
what I'm
that
looking at.
point. But you put everything that he did into one big scope. That's a Hall of Fame player.
All right, real quick, does any do you guys know what his? I'm looking at Fangraphs. You know what his WAR was for his career?
Yeah, isn't it like 61? 61 with the 62 wins?
66.5 WAR.
Whoa.
Okay, yeah, he did not have. He was he the most dominant pitcher in baseball? No, but when you
No,
look
he
at the way
was.
he was as when you look at what he was for us as a Yankee, when you needed a win, you wanted him on the mound, right? Even later in his career, remember it was like 8 straight cycles through the rotation. He was the only one to get us a win on the mound. I forget which year it was, but we went through that where he had 8 straight wins when no one else in the rotation can get through the game. So that's what he was. He was that guy you trusted the ball, you trusted him at the ball, just like Pettit, just like Mariano. When it came to there were players where when you need that win to get things right, he was the guy you wanted as your starter for a period of time. And it was for 5 to 6 years. He might not have been the top headline starter in baseball or the American League, but he was our guy. He was a guy that kept the Yankees from completely going on a losing streak. He was that guy that stopped
He's
them.
a stopper, but that diminishes what he did for Milwaukee. Where, as I mentioned, he had seven complete
Yeah.
games and 17 starts. He was brilliant in Milwaukee, and he won a Cy Young for Cleveland in 2007. So I'm sorry, that's an MVP. That's a
Yep.
hero right there.
And
Yeah.
if you want to, like, you can say, like I mentioned earlier in his career, like the ERAs were a little bit inflated, but from 06 to 2012, his ERA was like the highest ERA he had in that span was a 3.37. So in today's game, that would get him a Cy Young. So I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about there was a period of time where you can say for actually longer than 5 years that he was a top 5 pitcher in baseball.
Yes,
Was he dominant like DeGrom when healthy, like 1 ERA, 2 ERA? Maybe not, but you can absolutely say he was a top 5 pitcher. So I understand about that little debate right there that he was bringing up,
Yeah.
but I do disagree that if you really take another look at his stats, not just as a Yankee, but if you go back to his last couple of years in Cleveland, that half a season in Milwaukee, and what he did with the Yankees from 09 to like to 2012 even, it's hard to say they were definitely 5 pitchers every single year that were better than CC.
absolute facts. Yeah, that's the exact period I'm looking at, man. I'm focused on 2007 Cleveland won a Cy Young, 2008 Milwaukee 11-2, 160 ERA, 7 complete games. He was their absolute man. He was like their Superman. He did everything for them. So then 2009 Yankees 19-8 record, 2010 21-7 win record. That's ridiculous. 2011, 19-8 winning record, and 2012 just 6 losses against his record, 15-6. So I would say between 2007 and 2011, he was very much. He was also, and between that era, he was top 5 in the Cy Young every year. Between that, so I'm sorry. That means that there was a time between that 5 years that he was the dominant top 5 pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this next comment from to follow up on his debate, which we're having right now. And we're not saying that you're wrong. We're just giving our angle of your take. But he's asking, does this mean CC was a better pitcher than Ron Guidry? I think I don't think that's a fair question, because just like trying to compare CC to a pitcher from today, there are different eras in the game. And pitching was looked at differently when Guidry pitched. To come out of a game, it was like unheard of. You didn't, the teams didn't rely on a bullpen the way they did when CC played, even more so now. So I don't think that.
You're right.
I think it'd be fair if we wanted to compare CC to another player in that era. I think that'd be the more of a fair analysis.
No, you couldn't have put it better, man. Look, Ron Guidry, unbelievably, had 95 complete games in his career, because that was, well, partly because he's awesome. So, like, there's no question, man. Absolutely ridiculous, awesome. He's probably better than CC Sabathia in many ways, but absolutely incredible. But that was the era back then where you pitched complete games every year. So he had 21 complete games in 1983. I mean, that's unheard of, as most starters don't even go 21 starts these days, let alone 21 complete games. So, but it's a different era, man. That's why CC Sabathia was the last of a dying breed of guys that just put teams on his back and would pitch the whole way. And in the modern era, where analytics says you should just be going 6 innings or 5, so you can't really compare the two eras. Two completely different eras, man. As I say, David Cohn was more of the Ron Guidry era, and he pitched complete games all the time. I still think he's a Hall of Famer, but it's difficult to compare eras. So good point, Taz.
Yeah.
Also, Guidry didn't have 250 wins. He didn't have 3,000 strikeouts. So, like, I think Guidry is a Hall of Fame pitcher, though.
Yeah,
I mean, if
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's the conversation that we're having here. But I think CC's overall numbers are probably better. But again, different eras, like the 70s. Like, we're talking about CC was pitching in the 2000s, in the late 2010s. Like, Guidry's in the 70s. It's two completely. Yeah, like Ken's got a great point. Clemens was the last of the Guidry era. So
My guy.
Ooh.
It's hard to. I don't know if you could say that. Would CC be doing that in the 70s? Probably. He'd probably be better, if we're being honest, in the 70s. Yeah. So it's hard to compare eras. It's like people that say, oh, Babe Ruth would dominate today's game. It's hard to say he would. Guys are throwing 106 and he swung the bat like that. So it's hard to say that Babe would be putting up 700 home runs. You can't really compare eras in a game like this. Like, the game was played a lot differently back then. Like, even the pitchers' windups were all funky and everything. Everything was different, so it's hard to compare eras. But if you're just looking based off of numbers, CC's numbers were better.
Yeah,
but
that's
Guidry was still
like
phenomenal.
It's almost like saying Bonds and Ruth are the same player because they both saved the game after when attendance was low. But you can't do it. Doesn't work that way. And it's not to discredit the previous generations. That's part of the whole thing. Talk is, representing, respecting, and learning about the past. So it's important to the conversation for sure. But a comparison like that, it's hard to for that much of a gap. It's if you want to compare it to a pitcher in the '90s, like D-Rob brought up with David Cohn, that's an easier debate to have. Who would you rather want on the mound? Or Andy Pettit, who would you rather have on the mound? I think that's more of a discussion than a different generation.
Good point.
No. But listen, it's a day to celebrate. Congratulations to everybody that's in the Hall of Fame. And for anybody that came just shy or is on their counts are on the rise, we hope next year finds you some fortune for a lifetime achievement to get inducted. And like we said earlier, I will be at the ceremony for the Hall of Fame. So make sure that you are subscribed, and members will get some exclusive content from that event. So make sure we get those memberships up as well. And also on top of that, Friday, make sure you tune in because we do have a little something coming for you guys that we are working on. So make sure that you are in the chat. I'll leave it at that. You have to be in it to win it. There's your clue. So with that being said, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscription button. Drop a comment. And like we always like to say, this is the Pinstripe Chronicles. This is where fans become family. So wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.